Here's some NBA teams that almost existed. The Memphis Hornets. We got to start with one of the craziest almost teams ever. So back in 2001, they're cooked in Charlotte. Genuinely, everything is going terrible. Their owner, Greg Shin, this guy right here, he got some legal controversies, and every single Hornet fan hates this guy. He had to go to trial for something he did, and the fans, they couldn't stand this fool. And the thing is, the Hornets weren't even bad at this time. In 2000, they were the fourth best team in the East, although they did lose in the first round. But 2001, they were the sixth seed in the East. They lost in the second round in 7 after sweeping the Heat in the first. Then 02, they lost again in the second round. So the Hornets were a staple playoff team at this time. But because the fans were so disconnected from the owner, they were 29th in attendance out of 30 teams. Then on top of all that, George Shin, he wanted the city to build him a brand new arena. George Shin, owner of the Charlotte Hornets of the NBA, insists that a new arena is needed to keep his team competitive, and perhaps keep it in Charlotte. So yeah, that's the situation the Hornets got going in 2001. They got a good team, but no one's showing up to the games because they don't like the owner. And at the same time, the owner is telling the city of Charlotte to build him a new arena. And obviously, the city of Charlotte tells him, "Hell no!" So Shin thinks he got to figure out a way to get people in seats at Hornets games. So what does he do? He starts looking around for a new city. And the spot he has his eye on, Memphis, Tennessee. This is literally right before the Grizzlies moved there, by the way. But Memphis, they've been trying to get an NBA team since the 90s. And they got the Memphis Pyramid already. They were building a brand new $250 million arena, which eventually became the FedEx Forum. So they had local investors ready to put serious money in. So Memphis is locked in. They want a team bad. And then, March 26, 2001, the Hornets, they file an official relocation application to Memphis. But here's where it gets even crazier, because this is the exact same day that the Grizzlies file for Memphis relocation also. So you got two NBA teams fighting over the exact same city. So now we got the Hornets versus the Grizzlies. But the Grizzlies, they just wanted it more. The ownership was fully committed. They structured a better long-term deal, and the NBA gave them the green light. And just like that, Memphis gets the Grizzlies. And the Hornets, they're back to the drawing board. May 2nd, 2001, the Hornets officially withdrew their Memphis application. And a year later, they moved to New Orleans. And eventually, they became the Pelicans. But think about it. If the NBA picks the Hornets, we got the Memphis Hornets. No grit and grind Grizzlies. No John Morant Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis basketball as we know it doesn't exist. And instead, you got the Memphis Hornets. But the next one we'll talk about, a pretty famous one, the New Jersey Swamp Dragons. This one was insanely close to becoming reality, the Swamp Dragons. So it's 1994, the New Jersey Nets, they're in a bad spot. They aren't selling merch, no one's showing up to the games. And the reason? The Nets played in the Meadowlands in East Rutherford, New Jersey, and people in New York City just weren't making that trip. And besides them, most of the surrounding area is Knicks fans anyway. I mean, the Nets starting lineup at this point is Kenny Anderson, Kevin Edwards, Derek Coleman, Benoit Benjamin, PJ Brown. They're a decent team, but nobody's coming out to see this team. So the team president, John Spoelstra, Eric Spoelstra's dad actually, he looks around and sees what's working in the NBA, and he sees the Charlotte Hornets, the Toronto Raptors, bright colors, cartoon mascots, kids buying jerseys everywhere. And he goes, yeah, we need that. And the name Nets, it's not really giving that Hornets, Raptors fun vibe. So John Spoelstra, his goal is now to find the Nets a new team name. He looked out his office window, saw the swampland in the Meadowlands, and originally, he thought that the Swamp Rats was the name, which would be questionable, but then he lands on the Swamp Dragons, because dragons are cool and marketable. And it wasn't just an idea, they got the name and went all in. Logos, here's the actual logo they had, but then they had jerseys, court designs, warm-ups, the whole thing fully designed. And they spent about $500,000 just on trademarks and branding alone. The Nets were all in, about to make their new name the New Jersey Swamp Dragons. Then they bring it to David Stern, and Stern calls it the stupidest idea he's ever heard. Which, very fair, it's literally the Swamp Dragons. But also, he didn't block it. He left it up to a league vote, so now every NBA owner has to vote, and they do vote, and every single owner in the NBA says yes. Except one, the Nets co-owner David Gerstein. He flipped his vote at the last second, and because of how the voting worked, that was it. The New Jersey Swamp Dragons, dead on arrival. The guy whose franchise was literally set to become the Swamp Dragons, and because of him, the Nets stayed the Nets. Eventually, they moved to Brooklyn, but imagine if Gerstein just stays home that day, we got the Brooklyn Swamp Dragons right now. KD, Kyrie, and Harden, the big three of the Swamp Dragons. So yeah, $500,000 spent just down the drain because the Nets owner changed his mind at the shot clock to become the Swamp Dragons. But real quick, if you don't want your favorite team to be named the Swamp Dragons, you should sub. Or I'll make that happen, unfortunately. Thanks. But after that, we got the New Orleans Timberwolves. This one is so real, it's got its own Wikipedia page. Minnesota Timberwolves failed relocation to New Orleans. The New Orleans Timberwolves. So for this one, we got to go back to the great year of 1994. The PlayStation officially drops. O.J. Simpson is chased on live TV. And in Minnesota, the Timberwolves are struggling. So the Timberwolves have two owners, Marv Wolfenson and Harvey Ratner. Marv Wolfenson, owner of the Timberwolves. I'm so sure. Sounds like an SNL bit. But anyways, Wolfenson and Ratner, the arena they built in 1990, the Target Center, the arena debt is just starting to eat them alive. This team was losing every single year. This is before Kevin Garnett, by the way. Also, this is literally after 4 seasons in Minnesota. The Timberwolves are just poverty at this point. So they put the Timberwolves up for sale, and a buyer shows up, a group tied to Top Rank, which is a boxing promotion company, and their plan was to buy the Timberwolves for $152.5 million. And immediately, they wanted to move them to New Orleans. They wanted to move them the exact season they bought them. And New Orleans goes crazy. A newspaper up there actually ran a headline that said, "Got 'em." Like they were already celebrating. But then you hear where they were gonna play, and it starts to unravel a little. Their plan was to play in the Louisiana Superdome, which is a football stadium. Like, that's where the Saints play. And the NBA looked at that and said, hell no. You can't run a full season of an NBA team at an NFL stadium, an 80,000 person stadium. NBA arenas sit like 20,000 people. But then the buyers go, okay, we got a backup plan. And the backup plan was to make them a regional franchise, playing games in New Orleans and some games in Baton Rouge and some games at the University of New Orleans and then other games at the Mississippi Coast Coliseum. So 4 home stadiums. And David Stern hears this and socks the Timberwolves owner in the face. Joking. But traveling between 4 different venues as their home court, I genuinely don't know what they were thinking, and the NBA didn't either. And the NBA Board of Governors voted and rejected the whole thing. The deal is dead. The Timberwolves stay in Minnesota. Then Glenn Taylor comes in and buys the team later that year. He saves the franchise, and a year later they draft Kevin Garnett. And in the last 10 years, the Timberwolves have been one of the best teams in the NBA. But there was almost a reality where that wasn't the case. In New Orleans, they get a team called the Timberwolves, playing in 4 different arenas. Oh yeah, and they were thinking about renaming the team Rhythm. So the New Orleans Rhythm and almost idea. But let's get more recent for the next one, the Anaheim Royals. So for this one, we can get as recent as 2011, and this is the Sacramento Kings. I mean, if you know anything about the Kings at this time, you know they were poverty. From 06 to 2011, they didn't make the playoffs once. The record in these 5 seasons combined is 137 and 273, which is not good. But nah, the 2011 Kings are in an awful spot. Their arena, the Arco Arena, it had 30 luxury suites. And if you know anything about how NBA teams make money, luxury suites are a huge part of it. So the Maloof family, who own the Kings, also owners of the Maloof Money Cup, And no, I'm not joking. But because of the Kings, Maloof family is losing money big time. The team is bad, the arena's outdated, and they start looking around and they land their eyes on Anaheim. Specifically, the Honda Center, which already existed, already had 80 plus luxury suites, and was owned by Henry Samueli, the same guy who owned the Anaheim Ducks. So now the Maloofs are really in an already built modern arena, Orange County, which is basically the LA market, so bigger TV deals and more sponsorships. This makes complete sense. So they go all in, and in March 2011, the Kings actually file federal trademarks for the name Anaheim Royals, and also Los Angeles Royals, Orange County Royals, Anaheim Royals of Southern California. Like, they were covering every angle. Can't even lie though, Anaheim Royals of Southern California will go incredibly hard. But for the name Royals, it wasn't random. The franchise literally started as the Rochester Royals in 1945. Then they become the Cincinnati Royals, and eventually become the Kings, going back to the Oscar Robertson roots. I mean, this was done. Here's a Bleacher Report article for the time. Sacramento Kings. Why the move to Anaheim is a done deal for the Maloof family. Let's face it, the Sacramento Kings move to Southern California is a done deal. Every fan is holding out for a rejection when the owners vote, but this isn't going to happen. So it was a done deal. But then Sacramento Mayor Kevin Johnson, yes, the same Kevin Johnson who's a 3-time NBA All-Star, 4-time All-NBA player, this guy was the Sacramento mayor. It feels like a glitch in the Matrix, but he wasn't going out like that. So he put together a counter offer. He got local businesses to pledge around $10 million, threw a new arena proposal on the table. Basically, he went to the NBA and said, please don't take our team. And the NBA, who already had concerns about the Maloof's financial situation, he told them to chill out a little. And on May 2nd, 2011, the Maloofs announced they're not moving to Anaheim. And just like that, the Anaheim Royals are dead. But the Kings story doesn't end there. We'll get to their next attempt later. But for now, let's go to another one, the Kentucky Colonels. This team is a lot different than the other ones, for 2 reasons actually. Reason 1, they actually existed. Yeah, real squad we're working with here. But reason 2, this is the oldest team we got so far, the mid-1970s. But probably the most interesting because they already existed. But let's just look at this real quick. The last 5 years of the ABA before they merged with the NBA, the 5th to last year, the Utah Stars beat the Kentucky Colonels in the championship. Then the Pacers beat the Nets. Then the Pacers beat the Colonels. Then Utah beats the Nets. But the last year of the ABA, the Kentucky Colonels beat the Indiana Pacers in the championship. So in the last 5 years, there's 2 clear powerhouses. The Indiana Pacers, they show up in 3 finals. And the Kentucky Colonels also show up in 3 finals. And it makes sense. This team had Artis Gilmore and Dan Issel, 2 guys that ended up becoming great NBA players. So yeah, we got a legendary ABA franchise. But 1976, the ABA is folding. They're merging with the NBA. And the NBA is about to take some of the ABA's teams. And the Kentucky Colonels, a legendary ABA franchise, one of the all-time winningest teams in the ABA history. At one point, they were 6th in attendance in all of pro basketball, NBA included. So on paper, this team was an obvious pick to join the NBA. And a lot of people around the league are expecting them to get in. But here's the problem. The NBA said we're only taking 4 teams. And the 4 teams, the Nuggets, the Spurs, the Nets, and the Pacers. And the Colonels are just sitting there like, what the hell? Like, genuinely, why are we not going to the NBA? And the NBA's answer, the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls held the NBA rights to Artis Gilmore, and if the Colonels joined the NBA, they kept Gilmore. So the Bulls pushed hard to block Kentucky from getting in so they can keep Gilmore, and it worked. The Colonels lost that battle for the final spot to Indiana. And the owner, John Y. Brown Jr., he saw the writing on the wall, and he didn't fight it. He accepted a $3 million buyout and folded the team. Then the NBA had a disbarrel draft, and they just sold their players off for cash. Artis Gilmore went to the Bulls for $1.1 million. Some other Kentucky Colonels players got drafted. The whole roster just gone. Although for the owner John Y. Brown Jr., he took that $3 million and used it to buy the Buffalo Braves, which eventually became the Clippers. But because the Chicago Bulls really wanted Artis Gilmore, the Kentucky Colonels, not an NBA team till this day. And the Indiana Pacers are. But that reminds me, this video is presented by PrizePicks, America's #1 sports pick app. And I actually got a lineup I just placed that I'm rolling with right now. I took Karl Anthony Towns to win Eastern Conference Finals MVP. I put about $10 on it for a chance to win $333. That's a 33.33 times payout. And honestly, this isn't just random. Karl Anthony Towns has been playing at a high level this playoff so far. He put up a triple-double the other day. And that's why I like spots like this on PrizePicks. It's simple. You just pick more or less on player stats or even team outcomes, lock in your lineup, and you're set. I'll be posting more of my lineups on there too. So if you want to tell what I'm doing, make sure to follow me on the app so you don't miss anything. And if you've never tried it before, now's the best time. New users can play $5 and get $50 in lineups instantly when you use code HMA. So download PrizePicks and use the link in the description. Use code HMA and let's see if this cat pick hits. And as always, play responsibly. Okay, back to the video. For the next one, let's jump back to the 2000s. And for this one, we got the Louisville Grizzlies. For this one, we got to go to 2001. So remember when I talked about the Memphis Hornets and how two teams applied to Memphis at the same time? Well, the Grizzlies won the battle, but here's what I didn't tell you. Louisville was also in that fight. So we got to go to the Vancouver Grizzlies in 2001. So 01, the Grizzlies are trying to relocate, and for good reason. 6 seasons in Vancouver, they never made the playoffs. They won 101 total games in 6 years, and the Canadian dollar was killing them financially. Broke team, basically. So the new owner buys the team, Michael Hazley. He's just a guy that runs a bunch of businesses, basically. And immediately, he starts looking for a way out of Vancouver. And then a bunch of cities throw in their name. Vegas, New Orleans, Anaheim, St. Louis. But by the time it gets serious, it's down to 2 cities. Memphis and Louisville. I mean, this city has one of the strongest basketball cultures in the country. The legendary Kentucky Colonels. Wonder what happened to them. But then the Kentucky Wildcats too. And they've been chasing an NBA team for decades at this point. But here's where Louisville ran into a wall. Memphis, they just had the better package. Pitt Hyde, the founder of AutoZone, he was leading the Memphis bid, and that corporate money adds the hell up. But Memphis already had the Pyramid Arena ready to go immediately, and like we mentioned before, plans for a new arena were already going up in Memphis. Louisville couldn't match the infrastructure on the same timeline, and July 3rd, 2001, the NBA officially approved the Grizzlies' move to Memphis. And just like that, Louisville is eliminated. Again, Louisville just gets folded every damn time they try to get a team. Sorry, Louisville residents. But for the next one, we talked about the Kings becoming the Anaheim Royals, and I said it wouldn't be the last Kings attempt. So let's go to a few years after that. The Seattle Kings. So now, we got to go to 2013. So remember when we said 07 to 2011, the Kings didn't make the playoffs? Well, we can jump to 2013, and they still don't. Actually, we can jump to 2022 and they still don't, but that's besides the point. 2013, the Kings still aren't good. This actually hurts if you're a Seattle fan. So it's 2013, and Seattle's been without an NBA team since 08 when the Sonics got ripped away. They became the Thunder, and the city was desperate to get basketball back. So 2 guys got together, Chris Hansen and Steve Ballmer. Wrong Chris Hansen. This Chris Hansen. These 2 guys got together and tried to make the Seattle push. They put together a serious offer. They bought land in Seattle for a new arena. In January 2013, they agreed to buy 65% of the Sacramento Kings for $525 million. But the thing is, there was one condition. The NBA had to approve the move to Seattle. Seattle Group has filed for relocation with one more procedural move. The Sacramento Kings took another step towards Seattle. NBA Commissioner David Stern said Wednesday night that the Seattle Group, led by Chris Hansen and Steve Ballmer, which recently reached an agreement to purchase the Kings, has formally filed for relocation with the league. So yeah, this wasn't a rumor. They literally filled out all the paperwork for relocation, and at multiple points throughout this process, reports were saying the move was basically happening. The Seattle group even offered a relocation fee of $115 million, which was the record. Like, they were doing everything possible to make this happen. And the plan, if it got approved, was to rebrand the Kings back to the Seattle Supersonics, bringing the name the city lost 5 years ago. So basically, the Sonics would have just had a quick 5-year hiatus. But then, that's just where it starts. Sacramento fights back, new ownership group forms, led by Vivek Ranadive. They match the financial offers, they propose a new arena, and now the NBA has a decision to make. Do we let the Kings move to Seattle, or do we keep them in Sacramento with new ownership? And on May 15th, 2013, the NBA Board of Governors votes the result 22-8, keep them in Sacramento. Not even close. The Seattle Kings are dead. And Sacramento keeps their team. I mean, this might be the closest one we got yet. Other than the Swamp Dragons, of course. But think about the journey this thing went on. A completed sale agreement, official relocation paperwork filed, a record $115 million relocation fee offered, an actual Board of Governors vote, and it still didn't happen. Teams barely even get a real vote. This one did and lost 22-8. Seattle still never got their team back, although they will in a couple of years, but it'll be a fresh franchise, not the Kings moving. But for now, all 10 Kings fans can stay calm. They got their squad. But for the next one, we got to go back in time a little again, the Utah Rockies. So like the Kentucky Colonels team, we got to go back to 1976 for this one. So the Utah Rockies, they're different than any team on this list for a huge reason. They were officially announced. They had a name, they had an arena, and they never played a single game. So it's 1976, like we talked about. The ABA is folding, and like we mentioned before, teams are folding too. The San Diego Sails, the Virginia Squires, the Utah Stars, they all fold. But there's one team that's kind of like, well, what do we do now? The Spirits of St. Louis. I mean, they can see the writing on the wall, but they don't really want to fold. So their owners, Daniel and Ozzie Silna, businessmen brothers, they come up with an idea. They want to move the Spirits to Salt Lake City, rebrand them as the Utah Rockies, and play in the Salt Palace Arena. And they announced this officially. And on May 19th, 1976, the Utah Rockies are a real team. Utah made sense too. The Utah Stars won an ABA championship in 1971, so the market knew pro basketball. And the Spirits actually picked up a bunch of former Stars players when the team folded. Moses Malone was on this roster. So the Rockies had real talent. And the organization was so bought in, the staff even answered phones as the Spirits of Utah before the move was officially announced. This was happening. But then, June 17th, 1976, less than a month after the announcement, the ABA-NBA merger is finalized. And like we mentioned before, the only teams the NBA takes, the Nuggets, the Spurs, the Pacers, and the Nets. And the Utah Rockies, who were announced, had a name, arena, everything in between, they're just gone. Instantly. Deleted before they even play a game. Moses Malone gets sent to Portland into the Sparrow draft. The whole roster just split up, and the Utah Rockies exist for about a month. But here's the wildest part of this whole story. The Selna brothers, instead of fighting for this team in the NBA, they negotiate a deal. They get $2.2 million plus a 1/7 share of the NBA TV revenue from the ABA teams forever. Although one of them passed away, Google has them worth $800 million to $1 billion for basically just chilling after selling the team. So the Utah Rockies never played a game, and their owners made hundreds of millions anyway. And then Utah eventually got the Jazz in 1979 when New Orleans relocated, but the Rockies were announced, named, and erased all in less than 30 days. Genuinely one of the wildest almost teams ever. But if you guys enjoyed this, I would genuinely appreciate if you could subscribe. It's truly the only thing that lets me know you guys want me to keep posting on here. Thank you guys for watching.